Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Is this thing on? What is meant by acoustics in ancient bathhouses? Well, let's pretend we're part of a secret society. I'm sitting on a bench in a bathhouse. I've just taken a bath, and the walls are arranged in a certain way where there's another room, and there's a person sitting over there. And using acoustics and dialect, I'm able to bounce off words off the wall that, when echoed, if I say let's use another word. Let's say I say dragon, and the way dragon bounces off the wall, it says Caesar. So we're plotting to kill Caesar, and we're using secret language and dialect to transmit this communication. I wanted to use the Chinese language and Mandarin where but for some reason the phrasing has eluded me where there's emphasis on different syllables, and that's the dialect. By the way, I've tried to learn Japanese, incredibly difficult language. I've tried to learn Spanish. I feel I can learn Spanish easily. I passed, I got hundreds on Spanish exams in seventh and eighth grade, and I should have continued with, I guess, Spanish in high school. I decided I wanted to take French because I wanted to impress women. You know, I'm gonna take French to pick up girls. It's a romance language. Well, so is Spanish, I guess. But so there's some information here about global workspace architecture, and this is the technology that was used to develop things like Siri and Alexa. And I'm going to briefly discuss some global workspace. So right now I'm just forgive the silence. A global workspace is a functional hub of signal integration and propagation in a large population of loosely coupled agents on the model of crowd or swarm computing using a shared blackboard for posting, voting on, and sharing hypotheses so that multiple experts can make up for each other's limitations. Crowd computation has become a major technique for web commerce as well as scientific problem solving. In the 1970s, Alan Newell's Carnegie Mellon team showed that a GW, Global Workspace Architecture, was able to solve a difficult practical problem, the task of identifying 1,000 normally spoken words in a normally noisy and distorting acoustical environment, including the many challenges of phonemic and syllabic encoding of slow analog sound resonances interrupted by fast transients produced by the inertial movements of many different vocal tracks, each with its distinctive acoustical resonance profile, beginning with vocal, soft tissue, nasal, and labiodental turbulence, each with overlapping co-articulation of phonemic gestures with its own idiosyncratic speech styles and dialects, all in an acoustical environment with its own mix of sound absorbing, masking, and echoing surfaces. In real speech, this difficult signal identification task is also organized in lexical and morphemic units with real world reference, with unpredictable and ambiguous grouping, syntactic, semantic, pragmatic, intonational, and emotional organization. Newell's hearsay system was able to identify more than 90% of the spontaneous words correctly, even without modern format tracking, a newer and more effective technique. Hearsay was one of the first success stories on the new concept of parallel distributed architectures, now often called crowdsourcing or swarm computing. The most important point here is the surprising effectiveness of expert crowds using global workspace mediated signaling when none of the individual experts could solve the posted problems by themselves. One of today's leading speech recognition systems, Apple's Siri, is still making use of the web based crowdsourcing to identify poorly defined syllables in numerous languages and dialects spoken by many different voices in acoustically noisy spaces. Siri also learns to predict the speaker's vocal tract to improve its detection source. It is still imperfect, but it is commercially viable. Based on Newell's work, Bars, 1988, demonstrated the surprisingly close empirical match between the well-known central limited capacity components of the brain associated with consciousness and the notion of a global workspace architecture. The resulting global workspace theory of consciousness cognition has been widely adopted and developed, showing some 15,000 citations since Bars 1988.